Well, good evening, everyone. Meteorologist Michael Wilhite here with Southern Indiana weather. It is about 7:30 here Eastern Time on Tuesday night, February 11th. And if you're headed down south, we've got a real mess going on. Now, high pressure is large and in charge up here, so really nice, boring weather for a few days, which is a welcome change compared to what we have had. Down south, not so much. If you've got any travel plans, you can see that it's a mess brewing for them. Let me just zoom in here and this really is going to overtake this whole region. You've got a little bit of rain down here, but then you've got some sleet here in the orange shades, pink being freezing rain, and then your snow shades here as well. And this is absolutely going to hammer. Specifically, once this develops overnight and pushes in, is really going to hammer the Georgia area with a pretty heavy amount of nasty weather. We'll talk about that here in just a second. Tonight's video update sponsored by High Voltage Mobile DJ Service. You can contact Nathan. That's your number on your screen here, 630-9465, or visit him on the web at djhighvoltage.com. Nathan does a great job, so be sure to check them out and tell him Southern Indiana Weather sent you. All right, just really quickly, I know this could be a little bit of a confusing graphic, but I think it's worth showing here. This is freezing rain accumulation for Atlanta, just for anybody that would happen to be traveling. I know that it's a major hub. If you've got an airport, you can pretty much expect delays or canceled flights tomorrow. What you're seeing is the different model runs from today for specific to freezing rain accumulation. Freezing rain accumulation on the side, time as you go to the right down here along the bottom. Basically what you've got here, you've got some models giving all the way up to about almost 1.4 inches of freezing rain, with the lowest model giving about 3/4 of an inch of freezing rain. This is significant. You remember the 2009 ice storm that we had in Kentucky, which was just, shut down the region? Well, that was 3/4 of an inch of ice or a little bit more. The model average of everything now is just a bit over an inch of ice. So uh, you can imagine, folks, this is just catastrophic to that region. So if you have any travel plans whatsoever towards the Atlanta area, and really it's not going to be just Atlanta, really the whole area from Atlanta all the way over here to Columbia, South Carolina. If I were to overlay the warnings on, you would see even ice storm warnings as well as winter storm warnings in effect. So it's just a downright mess to our south. For us, though, high pressure is large in charge. If we just put the overlay on here, we've got a big high pressure situated just to our northeast right now. That's going to stay in charge for tonight. There's some snow up to our north. That's going to skirt to our north. No worries about that for tomorrow. And just take a look at current temperature data. We're still sitting up here in the high teens to low teens across the region, and we're going to go down to the single digits again tonight, folks. It's going to be a pretty cold night, no doubt about that. Let's talk about the pattern for this weekend, though. We've got some really nice sunny weather for a few days, but by the time we get into Friday, again, things are getting a little bit messier. I've talked the past few forecast videos about the chance for a little bit of light snow on Friday. Want to highlight that a little bit because that is Valentine's Day, and we'll fall into effect on a few things. Here we are Friday at 1 in the afternoon according to the GFS model, and it's breaking out some light snow across the region, some heavier snow potentially over just parts of Kentucky just south of the Ohio River, so points from Henderson southward down to Paducah. Could see some decent amounts of snow with this, and by decent we're not talking 10 inches of snow or anything, but a couple or 3 inches potentially with this. Up here in our portion of Indiana, just some light snow showers from the way things look right now. Some of the models actually warm us up a little bit more. The GFS is the colder of them right now, and it could end up being a rain-snow mix. I'm not convinced that it's going to be all snow. This is what the GFS says. This is one particular model, but we'll have to see. Honestly, this is one of those clipper systems, and the GFS never handles clipper systems overly well, in my opinion. So we'll take that with a grain of salt. And of course, if you've watched my videos, you see the GFS just keeps flip-flopping back and forth on what it wants to do. Specifically, it flip-flops back and forth for our next system moving in on Saturday behind this Valentine's Day. Here you got a low pressure moving down. Watch how this tracks right over central Indiana now, and breaks out some light snow showers for parts of us and for parts of us not. So, it had several inches of accumulation for us the other day. Past few runs, it's really backed off of that, which is not a bad thing. I'd like to see no snow myself. We've had plenty of it this year. But my confidence in the GFS model is very low right now. In fact, my confidence in any model for this weekend is very low right now because there is so much disagreement. If I were just to show you the Euro model here and just show you the precipitation from that period as well. You can see, if I go back to the right one here, you can see here's that low pressure as it moves in and sort of tracks that just off to our north here as well. And, pretty much doesn't give us much of anything down here, just some very light shades amounts. If we take a look at accumulated precip with the Euro model here, again, an inch or less for most of us here, and you got to go up to central Indiana before you start to go into potentially 3 and 4 inches. Snow for GFS is even completely different. An inch maybe at most over the next few days for, over the weekend here for Indiana. It takes a heavy snow event, well, heavier, 2 to 3 inches for parts of Kentucky with this on Friday. But again, frankly, I'm not convinced at this. With the wavering back and forth so much on the models, I know it's just really hard to tell at this point. So right now what I've done is just kept a chance of a rain snow mix both on Friday and Saturday in there. Hopefully we'll be able to dial in on that a little bit more, but our temperatures are going to be pretty much right on the line in the mid 30s. So could be rain at times, could be snow at times, but the good thing about with being a rain snow mix is that I don't expect a whole lot of accumulations. So we'll see how it plays out. All right. Now let's take a look at a little bit of the longer range, because we're still looking at a potentially decent-sized warm-up. I've been talking to you about potentially the 60s and 70s coming back around the 20th to 22nd time frame. The models vary back and forth on which day it's going to get, and of course I've mentioned now for several days that it could bring the possibility of severe weather when you get that, and we're starting to see a little bit more of those parameters come together now. It's too far out at this point to say that it's a definite, but it's something that we want to keep a watch on our radar screen. I'm going to go ahead and put the map into motion here. Here's the big storm, and let me just go back here and show you this. Here's the snowstorm and ice storm that you've got going on down south, and then they're not the only ones that's got to deal with this. Let me show you what happens with this once it exits the region. It becomes a nor'easter and moves up the New England coastline as well. So they're going to have some significant problems in New England to deal with as well. Not so much the ice problems, but some very heavy snow up in portions of New England. As this moves through, again, the GFS is painting some light snow accumulations south of the river for Kentucky on Friday. We'll see whether that happens. Here comes the next clipper system exiting in, and really it focuses most of the snow to the north, but not a whole lot of snow at that. Again, rain snow chances are what I'm keeping it at for this point. Then as we go forward in time, we have another warm-up potentially on the way from Monday, which could bring us just some plain cold rain. In fact, whenever I show you the temperatures on Monday, I'm excited about this because this is a breath of fresh air, and I'll take the rain with these temperatures. You'll see in a minute. I'm excited about a little bit of warmer weather. I said yesterday I'm longing for the day whenever I can forecast mostly sunny and 73 again. It's not quite that yet, but it is in the 50s now on Monday, so I'll take it, even with some rain. Then we get another decent-sized warm-up with some little bit of rain coming in, and watch this. Here we are at 1 p.m. on Saturday, February the 22nd. Very, very heavy rain moving into our system, and you notice you got one low to the north, you've got another low to our south that's going to deepen a little bit. Very powerful cold front with heavy rain for us, some snow on the backside of the system. As I put this in motion, notice how the low just rapidly intensifies and sort of ejects to the north following that cold front line. Now, in this time period, we're going to be not only very warm, but we've got some parameters that could be very detrimental to the area as well. First, let's look at the temperatures. Backed off a little bit. Remember, I had nearly 70 degrees yesterday. It's backed off to the mid to upper 50s for most of us, even encroaching on the 60s. So, that's 10 degrees cooler than yesterday, but that's significantly warmer. Our average temperature, by the way, warmed up from the 45 it was. Our average temperature today is now 47. So, we're talking potentially 15, maybe even 20 to 25 degrees warmer than what normal should be, depending on what the final temperature ends up being for this. But here's the real worry with me. Along with that warm-up, it's because of air being pumped up from the south because of this rapidly developing low and a warm front that moves north. But with that becomes a lot of wind energy, and what you're looking at here is what we call the low-level jet, the LLJ for short. This is wind speeds at about 4,000 or 5,000 feet up in the atmosphere, and whenever you get winds just howling over us like that, it can really... thunderstorms can tap into those winds and then bring those down to the surface to create severe thunderstorms and very damaging winds. Well, it has 60 and 70 knots of winds just 4,000 feet above us, so that's very concerning for this time of the year. And if we take a look at the jet stream with it, the jet stream right over us as well with extremely powerful wind energy. Mid-level jet stream, as you can see, is in a very similar fashion. All the all the parameters are here. It's going to be fairly windy on that day here, even at the low levels at the surface as well. So moisture with this, if we just take a look at the moisture transport, surface dew points are definitely soaring up there. Let me give you an idea on precipitable water for those of you that understand these. But precipitable water, basically we're looking at the amount of precipitation that's available to be rained out within a certain period of time in the atmosphere. And what I want you to see is just look at this plume of moisture coming up from the Gulf of Mexico. Not only is it warm air, but it is very warm and moist air. Warm, moist air is very buoyant. That's going to lift. And, whenever you get these winds at 70 knots or above on the low levels with that kind of winds, and as long as you've got a strong forcing mechanism, which you will in a cold front with a strong temperature gradient behind it, you've got you definitely got a recipe for that. How strong of a cold front is it? You can see the cold front in the picture right here. Here we are looking at dew points. We've got dew points really up into the 50s and even approaching the 60s around our area. And then right out here, we've got dew points in the 30s, just dew points in the 60s in the Evansville area to St. Louis being nearly 30 for the dew point. So that is a very steep temperature gradient, not only temperature but dew point gradient as well. That's a very sharp cold front. That's plenty enough of a lifting mechanism. We've got all the moisture in place. If we've got the wind energy in there, then we've got that as well. The only thing that is lacking is stability. For instability, we look at a product called CAPE. Stands for convective available potential energy. It's just a measure of the amount of energy that we have in the atmosphere available to create that instability and to fire these storms, and it's very lacking. But at the time this cold front moves through, it's also 1 in the morning on Sunday the 23rd, so that helps with instability being a little bit less. Again, this far out, the reality is this is not by any means a sure thing, for one, and for number two, usually the timing is way off this time far out. By the time we get into next week, if the idea is still holding on to that chance for severe weather, we may see the system speed up by even 3 or 4 days. That's not uncommon this far out. So it's something that we want to watch. And, whenever you see signals this far out, this strong, and for the past few days, you've been watching my videos, you've seen me talking about the potential for severe weather later in the month based on what the model is saying. When you have the model saying something that consistently this far out, again, that's something that you want to take watch of. Doesn't mean it's necessarily going to happen, but it's been a little while since we've had some severe weather. The last severe weather we had roll through, I think, was right before Christmas, around December the 20th, 21st, somewhere around in there. So, it's been a little bit while. I suppose we're due for it again. It's certainly possible. It's in the cards at this point, and you don't get 60s and 70s this time of the year into our area without paying a price. Now, behind this system, it's going to get cold again. Now, not ridiculously cold again, but if I were to put these into motion again, there you see that cold front sliding through, and in a matter of, here we are on Sunday at 1 in the afternoon at 60 degrees according to the GFS, we go to 36 degrees by 1 a.m. that night. So in a course of 12 hours, you went from 60 to 36. Again, that's a very powerful cold front. That's why we're watching out for the potential of severe weather. And of course, it gets pretty cold behind that. But it moderates just a little bit, as you can see, in the coming periods with 50s and 40s behind it. So, hey, we'll take it compared to what we've had. Don't see any below zero temperatures, really, except for maybe tonight. Going down to the low single digits again for most of us. Points towards the north easily could go below zero again. But beyond tonight, I don't see any low zeros in the forecast for quite a little while, at least as far as the eye can see. Let's hope it stays that way. All right. Go to southernindianaweather.com and you can get the latest 7-day forecast. Again, single digits tonight, mostly sunny. Warmer tomorrow, above freezing, finally with a high of 33. It gets even better, 38 on Thursday. You got a chance of a rain and snow mix both on Friday and Saturday. Again, I'm not confident in the forecast in that because the models are just too all over the place. Hopefully we'll be able to fine-tune that a little bit sooner. But, 38, that's a lot better than the teens and 20s that we've had the past couple of days for sure. Then the warming trend really starts up to 43 with partly cloudy skies on Sunday. And hey, 51 degrees on Monday with rain, but you know what, folks? I will take it because I am sick of the cold weather. You know what? This Hoosier may even go out in shorts and a t-shirt when it gets that. Who knows? We'll see. All right, that's it for tonight's video, folks. Another one of these tomorrow night. We'll keep tracking this for Southern Indiana weather. I'm meteorologist Michael Wilhite. Have a great night, folks. Take care.